I'm Sam Barry, and you're watching Dirt Live.
Hey, welcome back to Dirt Live. We're here with our special guest, RJ Anderson, Monster Energy driver. Welcome here, RJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you know, we were with you a couple weeks ago. You won the Driver of the Year for Dirt Sports in short course, man. And what a year you had in 2012.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The Dirt Sports Awards were at the Oakley headquarters, which was one of my sponsors. So it's cool to all meet there. It's a real state-of-the-art, cool facility. So to be recognized as Short Course Driver of the Year was something really cool, and I take it with a great honor. And it was awesome to have you know, Robby Gordon, Walker Evans, all those people like that in the same room receiving awards, and to be along the same degree as those guys was really cool for me, and I had a good time. Well,
you know, a really great time that year. 10 times you were on the podium out of 15 races. That's incredible.
Yeah, you know, and that it proves what the equipment can do, and in the pro light class especially, you know, it's you're abusing those machines so hard that for all my guys to put a truck under me that lived and took all the abuse and was able to put me on the podium 10 times, even through my own mistakes, was awesome, and it's going to be hard to beat that this year.
Now, the year before, you got kind of started in pro light. You raced at Torque back in Chicago. I remember you showing up at Glen Helen at the works race with me, and I was telling the crowd about they didn't even realize that you just flew in an airplane and won at Chicago in pro light. That's pretty cool. That was 2011.
Yeah, in 2011 we ran my pro light back in the Torque series because that was the first year of the V8 pro lights, and that was the only series where you can run them, where you could run those trucks where it was a previous 4-cylinder motor and they converted to a V8 package. So I was running back east and at Chicagoland Speedway. I actually swept the weekend there. It was my first pro light win, and then my second one. And that race was Wednesday and Thursday. It was on a NASCAR weekend, so they had us there during the week on a Wednesday, Thursday. And I woke up early Friday morning and flew back home and had a works race in my UTV at Glen Helen that weekend. So I flew home, went straight from the airport to one of my sponsors that brought my UTV to the track, and I practiced on Friday and then raced on Saturday. So UTV race didn't go as good as the truck race, but it was definitely a busy weekend.
Yeah, I know you didn't have a good day at Glen Helen, but definitely Chicago, you killed them. So, you know, like, where did you start? I mean, I know, talk a little bit about, you know, I think you were into motorcycles as a young man.
Yeah, definitely. When I grew up, I started on a dirt bike when I was 3 years old, you know, and my grandma had some properties, so we'd always go over there for holidays, and I'd ride, and it was always a passion of mine. I love racing. I love going to the track, and I wanted to race dirt bikes, but my mom, she didn't like the idea of racing dirt bikes. She never did. She was all right with me riding them, but she just didn't like me being competitive in dirt bikes. So we ended up going and getting a go-kart. We just found a go-kart, I think, off of Craigslist or out of the paper. And my dad's shop at Walker Evans Racing is right above a go-kart track, Adams Motorsports Park. So he had the idea of maybe starting to race go-karts, and on the weekends, you know, it was just something fun we could go do. So when I was 12 years old, we got a go-kart, and I started going down there maybe about a Saturday every month, and we'd go down there just for fun and race at a local series, and started getting competitive and having fun with that, and it just kind of built from there.
Now, you know, your mom did not want you to race motorcycles, right?
Yeah, no, she didn't like the motorcycles at all. She's still okay with me riding them and having fun, but she just didn't want me to race them, and I kind of understand. She just sees all the injuries. She's a school teacher in an area where there's a lot of motocross racing, so her students would always come in with broken arms, and a lot of past students, you know, one passed away, so she just had a bad past with it. So,
you know, I know at the awards you talked about, it was pretty cool, you know, Walker Evans there giving you the award, but you grew up around Walker Evans. I mean, your dad was on, I think, his crew, and you spent a lot of time with Walker.
Yeah, exactly. With my dad, started at Walker Evans Racing when he was 16 and became Walker's crew chief at 18. So it's been a long time coming, and now he owns Walker Evans Racing alongside Walker, so building shocks and wheels. But from the racing side, my dad and Walker were always a kind of a duo, and so to have Walker there in all the success he's achieved through his years of racing, championships and wins and accomplishments, it was cool to have him be able to give me the award, the short course award.
Well, you talk about the short course award. the youngest in the history to ever win that short course award at the age of 20.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, as far as short course goes, I look up to guys like Rob McCachran and stuff who, that it's in the same category as for him to be able to go up for a short course award, and for me to be able to receive it is just something that it's hard to grasp.
Well, you talk about growing up. When you were riding the motorcycles, I know you had somebody you really looked up to. Tell everybody.
Yeah, it was actually funny. I always looked up to Jeremy McGrath, and I got to go to my first Supercross race when I was, I think, like 5 or 6 years old in Anaheim. And I never liked Ricky Carmichael because that was right about the time when Ricky Carmichael was coming up, and I think he beat Jeremy that race. So I never liked Ricky Carmichael, but I always looked up to Jeremy just for the rider he was, and I was just always fascinated with him, and I loved watching Supercross and watching him ride. And so, 12 years later to be able to be his teammate is just so cool, and he's even a cooler guy once I got to know him, and an awesome teammate.
What was the feeling? His wife went through some terrible things and with cancer, and you filled in. What was it like filling in and driving his Pro 2?
Yeah, it was definitely a bittersweet type deal. With the stuff Kim was going through and the stuff she was able to fight off with cancer was something that he had to be there for, and we all totally understood as a team. And he asked if I would drive his Pro 2 for him when we were up racing in Utah at the Lucas Series, and I was honored. I was obviously bittersweet just for the fact that I wish Jeremy could have been there just to race his own truck because he's better at it than me. But yeah, it was definitely a pretty different sensation to be racing a truck with my hero's name and number on it. It was a really cool deal, and it was an honor to have Jeremy ask me to fill in for him.
You did pretty good. You didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I'd never driven a Pro 2 before. I actually got to test Jeremy's truck like for 5 laps or so at Elsinore. We just did a quick shakedown, and I got to burn a few laps in it, but I didn't know what it was like to race a Pro 2. I didn't know much about him, so I just had to, got thrown into the deep end. And yeah, I ended up getting a 5th, and then having a little bit of a mechanical, and finished, I think, 9th on Sunday. So it was a good learning experience.
Well, we've been wanting to talk to the young guys. You're 20 years old. Did you anything in school? Did you plan on maybe going to college or anything?
Yeah. I just turned 20 this past weekend, so I graduated high school a little over a year ago, and my whole plan was to to go into college and to get a degree and to move on with life and that aspect. And racing was always fun to me, and I try not to take it too serious and just have fun, and something I got to do with my dad on the weekends and stuff. And then as the sponsors and stuff started coming in, it started getting more serious and more serious. It kind of came to the point where I was already applied for college, and I took all my my tests to get accepted, and it kind of came to a point where I only really had time to do one. I didn't have time to go off and go to college. I had to kind of stay home and work on my race cars and to be able to get to the tracks. So I kind of had to take the chance this whole racing thing was going to pay off, and I wasn't able to go. And hopefully in the future here soon, things will kind of calm down a little bit, and I'll be able to maybe go back and take some classes because I'd still like to be able to get a degree. But for now, it's a full-time job. Definitely, it's more than a full-time job working on race cars and trying to promote my own self.
Now, did you do any sports in high school?
I never did any high school sports. I played baseball my whole life until high school, and it was kind of the same deal where racing and baseball was kind of a conflicting deal. So I either had to miss baseball games on the weekend or miss a race. So I had to make a choice, and I chose racing. Whether that was a good idea, I'd probably be making more money playing baseball.
Well, you watched some of the map earlier of Baja, and get you a little excited. I know you'd like to race Baja. Let's talk about how would you like to do in Baja?
No, Baja looks so fun. I've gone down like this past year. I was down in Baja helping the Herps chase and stuff like that, and it always seems so fun to be able to go and push yourself and test your body and your mind and your equipment for. I think it was a 20-hour race. The 1,000 was this last year, and something like the 250 maybe seems like a little bit more my style. I know it's rough, and I would love to get into desert racing. So anyone that has an open seat, I'd love to get into desert racing for sure.
Well, here, Stronghold, I know Scott out there watching live, building a new Class 1 car, right? Lumacraft?
Yeah, exactly. Stronghold Motorsports, who I race short course for, they're getting back into the desert game with a brand new Class 1 car. So it'd definitely be cool to maybe go do a couple races in that when it doesn't conflict with my short course stuff. And if I have time to go get some testing or something, that would definitely be cool to race with my short course team in some desert stuff. That would be cool.
So plans for 2013? I know with Stronghold.
Yeah, 2013 season, doing Pro Light again this year, Pro Light only as far as the short course stuff goes. I'll be running the full Lucas Oil Series in my Pro Light, trying to back up my championship from 2012, and still doing a bunch of UTV stuff and having fun with that, and got some pretty cool projects coming up for that I can keep looking for.
I think Polaris is behind you, pretty big.
Yeah, oh yeah, Polaris is one of my long time, kind of one of my first big sponsors, and so yeah, they've always been behind me, and they're one of the coolest sponsors anyone can have. And the new Polaris Razors are just out of the box. They're like a little race car. So to see what they came from with the Rhino to now what a Polaris Razor is just phenomenal. And I love driving it. And it just I drive them all the time, and every time I drive it, it still puts a smile on my face.
So Stronghold, the team. Let's talk about Scott's team, Stronghold this year. Yourself, Jeremy McGrath. I think his son racing with you.
Yeah, I'll be in a Pro Light. Jeremy McGrath will be in his Pro 2 again. Brandon Bailey is coming back this year, which is Scott's son, and he'll be in a Pro 4 that they've had. It's campaigned a few races. I know Rob McCachran and Marty Hart and guys like that have raced it at random races, and they made some updates to the truck, so he should be going pretty good this year in a Pro 4. So we've got all the fields covered, and then I think Larry Jobe will be joining us in a Pro Buggy. So we'll have all of the top 4 covered as far as the Lucas Series goes.
I really think it's cool. We'll talk about as we wrap up. Your involvement is pretty cool. Where some drivers, like if you look back at Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch, worked on all their race cars. So you get to work on your own race stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things about going to Stronghold Motorsports when it went from being a kind of privateer effort with me and my dad. They said they wanted to bring my program over to their side and run out of their tent for the year last year in 2012, and it was cool that they brought me along with it, and they gave me a job, and I still work there full time. So I like working on my car. I think it helps when I'm out there. I know exactly what I'm feeling. I know what a change does. I just know exactly what's going on with my race trucks. So I love being able to work on it. A lot of people say, why would you want to work on your truck when you can go get a different job? But I think it helps me succeed when I'm out on the track.
You had a lot of fun. I know this year you're racing Brian Deegan, the Bean out there, a bunch of tough competition, man, in your class in Pro Light.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's a lot of fast guys in the Pro Light class, and I think coming in 2013 we'll have about 30, maybe a little more than 30 trucks racing all on a close racing type track. Now,
Casey Curry on the same team with you, not for Monster Energy, but who's your toughest competition out there in Pro Light?
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing about Pro Light is anyone can win on a given weekend. I think in 2012 we had about 4 or 5 different winners and a bunch of different guys who would hit the podium, So, I mean, it's kind of a matter of fact of just being there week in, week out, to be able to wrap it all up in the end, and that's what we were able to do. We still had 5 wins last year, but, I mean, the important part was the 10 podiums and being there every weekend, because a handful of guys could win races, but it's putting it together all year long.
Yeah, that was a great year for you, 2012. Once again, we want to thank you, R.J. Anderson, for joining us on Dirt Live. We want to get you back here, halfway during the season while you're racing at Lucas. We'll keep track of what you're doing. Hopefully you can win another championship. We're going to come back after this commercial right here on Dirt Live. We'll be joined by Mr. Robby Bell. Be right here after this commercial. Coming back live.